Hello, it's Shelley F, bringing you Positive Changes, a Self-Kick podcast. In this episode, we are going to be diving in and encouraging you to speak your truth. Sometimes our truth may come out as bad, upsetting, or filter-free. However, I believe that honesty is generally the best policy. Obviously, if you are about to blurt out some home truth, do a risk assessment beforehand, as there is a time and a place for everything, including our words. I do not want you getting walloped by telling Barbara her bum looks awful in her new highly spangly outfits, but trust yourself to know when the time is right. What do I mean by speak your truth? I'm not asking you to speak for the sheer hell of it. When you speak your truth, it means you're cognitively remembering the facts and relaying them from your heart. No script, no people pleasing, just your authentic truth. I ask that you don't speak from a place of intentional hurt or upset just for the sake of being heard. You're purely being authentic, sharing your side of a story in our ever-evolving life story. Your words matter and you matter, so be heard. So, to speak your truth is to speak about your truth and how you understand things. It may not be the truth, but it is true for you, and that holds value and is most worthy of being heard. There may have been a turning point in your life when you decided it was better not to speak your truth, be it due to your parents, siblings, teachers, partners, work colleagues, someone in a group you belong to, anywhere. Their reaction to you speaking all those moments and years ago may have led to you having many silent thoughts and words. I'll bite my tongue, be seen and not heard, bottle it up. We do not speak of such things in this family. And you tell yourself it doesn't matter. It isn't worth it. Choose your battles. You may even question what difference it would make anyway. But believe me, it does make a difference. You make a difference. And as always, in all the episodes of this series, one of the solo shows, allow me to be a little controversial and bring it back to one of my favourite topics, death. As you would have learned from now, whether from these shows, interacting with me on Facebook or LinkedIn, reading my articles, attending one of my talks, or on other people's podcasts, I talk really openly about death. And this is from both a medical and a spiritual perspective. And today's death and illness truth bomb is that if you do not voice your words, it will lead to health problems, a sense of dis-ease. I have seen so many people over the years where I've been treating them for this dis-ease, and it goes beyond coincidence. So now I'm going to speak my truth. It may not be the truth, but it's how I understand it, and it has value. So, Shelley F, once upon a time nurse, started to see a pattern where many ladies with breast cancer would open up on our one-to-one time, where I sat there administering chemotherapy, and in this captive audience, they would start talking about issues and bringing up words that they had kept in for years. Finally being still enough and heard enough to open up and share their words. When we are dealt with a life-changing situation, such as a cancer diagnosis, we often unleash a refreshing, frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn, approach, as we are forced to face our own mortality. And so these beautiful ladies, finally, after years of holding in their words of truth, opinions, their stories and wishes, they started to let the words flow and the tears flow. Out of all the sentences in the world the breast cancer patients could say, so many of them would say, "I'm glad I finally got that off my chest," as if to suggest the trapped disease and the past had been festering within their chest, where this illness was. Controversial, I know, and I'm not saying this is always the case or an absolute given, as we hear that cancer is caused by damaged genes, carcinogens, and other factors. But the pattern and the frequency of the same words, "I'm glad I finally got that off my chest," popped up so frequently that I'd be a fool not to recognise it. And it did give me real food for thought and has stayed with me to this very day, how repressed emotions and issues can create disease within us. So that's me speaking my truth. But now, back to you speaking your truth, as I've totally gone off on one. Our authentic communication, where we allow ourselves to share an unfiltered essence of our true self, enabled us to clearly define us, our identity, feelings, needs, wants, boundaries, our version of truth. And our version of truth has an absolute value. So I'm going to read the chapter from my book, Positive Changes, a Self-Kick book, Be True to Yourself. It's on page 191. Be true to yourself. This title forewarns you to be careful of who you may pretend to be, as you may begin to forget the real you in the false process. Do not be moulded by other people's opinions. Their words will paralyze or change you until there is no real you. From the moment we are born, people start shaping us, starting by choosing our name, choosing our clothes, and how we are going to be brought up. Surrounded by love, fear, religion, and many other choices that are not of our doing. Even when we are old enough to stand on our own 2 feet, people will still continue to voice their opinions of you and your life, rather than look at themselves and their own life. Save yourself years and heed these words. You are never going to make everyone happy. Some may well label you weird, others will hold you to be an absolute genius. Neither terms matter in the scheme of your life. Be who you are or become a version of who you wish to be. Either option will do, but do not be who the world wants you to be. Do not measure yourself up against siblings, celebrities, work colleagues, friends or neighbours. Why focus on what others have? Why wish to be someone you are not? Look at what you have in yourself and the environment around you. This is your starting point. Focus on just you and your desires for a while, and do not be tricked into others' stories. There are so many ways to tell a lie, yet only one way to tell the truth. So be true to yourself and share your brilliant and honest story with others. That was the chapter, Be True to Yourself. It can take weeks, months, and even years to start transitioning toward your authentic self, to find the courage to speak your truth and be heard. Yes, there may well be repercussions where people do not know how to respond to the truthful you, and you may lose them along the way. But it is your life and your life story, so you get to choose which fabulous characters make it to the end of your story. Last year I wrote an article for Savannah East titled, Why Your Friendships Never Last. And whilst researching for this piece, I learned that we create and lose around 400 friendships in our lifetime. So get speaking out and get culling accordingly. Only joking. Well, in truth, when we find the courage to create positive changes in our life, there is a natural ripple effect. People will look down at you, knock you down, laugh at you, and more, as they fear that you're going to come into your greatness, something they've not looked at, something they've not tried. This goes back to the last episode where we went from fear to faith. People get stuck. Don't get stuck. Get vocal. So in this episode, I've encouraged you to speak your truth. I have advised you to know the best time and the place to do so. And I know that you're going to have to work through some blocks from the past as you find that voice. But your words matter. And I do believe, from my truth, that when we keep these words in, they can make us ill. So get sharing your truth, your opinions, your stories, your wishes. Speak your truth. And so, that brings me to the end of Series 1. We've looked at happiness, who am I, self-love, forgiveness, from fear to faith, and speaking your truth. If you found this podcast interesting, please leave us a review on Apple Podcast Store or wherever you have listened to this episode. Don't forget to make sure that you've subscribed to the podcast so that you don't miss out on any future episodes. Until next week, keep creating those small positive changes. I've been Shelley F. Knight, and you've been amazing. Thank you for listening.